Socrates had several well-known students, some of whom went on to become influential philosophers in their own right. Today I will discuss some notable students of Socrates and their ideas. Plato. Plato, one of the most famous philosophers in history, was a student and disciple of Socrates. Plato's dialogues, such as The Republic and Phaedrus, used Socrates as the main character to convey his teachings. Here are some of Plato's most famous philosophies. Theory of forms, or ideas. Plato's theory of forms posits that the physical world we perceive is a mere reflection or imperfect copy of a higher realm of eternal and unchanging forms or ideas. According to Plato, these forms represent the ultimate reality and are the true essence of things. For example, there is an ideal form of justice that exists separately from specific instances of justice in the physical world. Allegory of the cave. Plato's allegory of the cave is a metaphorical story that illustrates his views on knowledge, perception, and the nature of reality. In the allegory, prisoners are confined to a cave and perceive only the shadows of objects projected on the wall. Plato suggests that these shadows represent our limited perception of the physical world, and true knowledge comes from ascending out of the cave and directly encountering the forms. Theory of ideas of knowledge. Plato distinguished between opinion, doxa, and genuine knowledge, episteme. According to Plato, true knowledge is based on reason and the understanding of the eternal and unchanging forms. In contrast, opinions rely on the senses and are subject to change and uncertainty. Theory of the soul. Plato proposed a tripartite theory of the soul, dividing it into three distinct parts: reason, rational aspect; spirit, spirited aspect associated with emotions and desires; and appetite, physical desires. He argued that the ideal state occurs when reason governs and harmonizes the other parts of the soul. Philosopher king. Plato advocated for a utopian society governed by philosopher kings, individuals who possess philosophical wisdom and understand the forms. According to him, only philosopher kings are capable of making just and informed decisions for the betterment of society. Ideal state. Plato's concept of an ideal state, outlined in his famous work, The Republic, emphasizes the importance of justice, wisdom, and a hierarchical social structure. He believed that society should be divided into three classes: the ruling class, philosopher kings; the auxiliary class, warriors and defenders; and the productive class, workers and producers. Xenophon. Xenophon, a philosopher, historian, and military leader, was also a student of Socrates. His writings, particularly in works like Memorabilia and Symposium, provide insights into Socrates' philosophy and character. Here are some of the most famous philosophies associated with Xenophon. Socratic philosophy. Xenophon was a student and follower of Socrates, and his philosophical ideas were greatly influenced by the teachings of his mentor. Xenophon's dialogues, such as Memorabilia, provide a defense of Socrates and his philosophy against criticism. Xenophon emphasized the importance of ethical conduct, virtue, and the pursuit of wisdom as central aspects of human life. Practical philosophy. Xenophon's philosophical works often focused on practical advice and moral teachings. He emphasized the application of philosophy to everyday life, offering guidance on topics such as leadership, governance, and personal conduct. Xenophon believed that philosophy should have practical relevance and contribute to the betterment of society and individuals. Moral virtue. Xenophon emphasized the cultivation of moral virtues as a central aspect of human excellence. He believed that individuals should strive to develop virtues such as self-discipline, courage, justice, and moderation. Xenophon's works often highlight the importance of virtuous behavior and its impact on personal happiness and the well-being of society. Leadership and governance. As a military leader and historian, Xenophon reflected on the qualities of effective leadership and good governance. In works like Cyropaedia, he presented an idealized account of the leadership of Cyrus the Great, focusing on the qualities of a benevolent and effective ruler. Xenophon explored themes of leadership, education, and the responsibilities of those in positions of power. Natural philosophy. Xenophon occasionally touched upon natural philosophy, particularly in his work, Hiera. In this dialogue, he explored the nature of tyranny and the contrasting virtues of a just and contented life. While not extensively developed in his writings, Xenophon's philosophical ideas on the nature of the universe and humanity's place in it reflect his broader intellectual interests. Aristippus. Aristippus of Cyrene was a philosopher who founded the Cyrenaic school of philosophy. His philosophy focused on hedonism, which posits that pleasure is the ultimate aim of life. Here are some key aspects of Aristippus's philosophy. Hedonism. Aristippus believed that the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain were the primary goals in life. However, his hedonism differed from more extreme forms of hedonism, as he emphasized the importance of pursuing immediate and moderate pleasures over long-term or excessive ones. Subjective hedonism. Aristippus argued that pleasure is a subjective experience and varies from person to person. He believed that each individual should seek their own personal pleasures and should not be bound by societal or moral constraints in their pursuit of pleasure. Sensory pleasure. Aristippus considered sensory pleasure to be the highest form of pleasure. He believed that the pleasures derived from the senses, such as taste, touch, and sight, were the most immediate and intense. Present moment focus. Aristippus advocated for living in the present moment and experiencing pleasure in the here and now. He believed that one should not be overly concerned with the past or the future but should instead focus on enjoying the present. Adaptability and self-control. Aristippus emphasized the importance of adaptability and self-control. He believed that one should be able to find pleasure in any situation, even in adversity, and that self-control was necessary to avoid excessive or harmful pleasures. Antisthenes, a philosopher and student of Socrates, was the founder of the Cynic school of thought. The Cynics advocated for a simple and ascetic way of life, focusing on personal virtue and rejecting societal conventions. Here are some of the most famous philosophies associated with Antisthenes and the Cynics. Asceticism and simplicity. Antisthenes and the Cynics believed in living a life of extreme simplicity and self-discipline. They rejected material possessions, wealth, and social status, considering them unnecessary distractions from the pursuit of virtue. Cynics embraced poverty and practiced self-control to free themselves from desire and attachment to worldly goods. Virtue as the highest good. Antisthenes emphasized the importance of virtue as the ultimate goal of human life. He believed that virtue alone leads to true happiness and fulfillment. According to the Cynics, virtue is cultivated through self-discipline, rigorous self-examination, and the rejection of conventional societal norms and expectations. Self-sufficiency and autarky. The Cynics promoted self-sufficiency and independence from external circumstances. They aimed to free themselves from reliance on material possessions, social approval, and the opinions of others. By cultivating self-reliance and inner strength, Cynics believed they could attain a state of autarky, or self-sufficiency, that would lead to a truly liberated and contented life. Radical honesty and bluntness. Antisthenes and the Cynics were known for their straightforward and often provocative communication style. They believed in speaking the truth without reservation or concern for social conventions. This commitment to radical honesty aimed to challenge hypocrisy and encourage self-awareness in both themselves and others. Diogenes and the ideal Cynic. While the Cynic philosophy has its roots in Antisthenes' teachings, it evolved and was further developed by subsequent Cynic philosophers, including Diogenes. Diogenes of Sinope, a disciple of Antisthenes and one of the most famous Cynics, became a symbol of the Cynic lifestyle. Diogenes famously lived in extreme poverty, often in a large ceramic jar, at Diogenes, and rejected societal norms with acts of public displays and unconventional behavior. His life exemplified the ideals of simplicity, self-sufficiency, and the rejection of material possessions. Euclid of Megara. Euclid, not to be confused with the mathematician of the same name, was a philosopher and founder of the Megarian school. The Megarian school, also known as the dialectical school, was characterized by its emphasis on logical reasoning, metaphysics, and ethical principles. Here are some of the most famous philosophies associated with Euclid of Megara. Concept of being and non-being. Euclid explored the concepts of being and non-being, considering them as fundamental categories of existence. He argued that being and non-being were mutually exclusive and that something either exists or does not exist, leaving no middle ground. Importance of logical reasoning. Euclid emphasized the importance of logical reasoning and dialectic in philosophical inquiry. He believed that through rigorous questioning and the use of logical arguments, one could uncover truths and gain a deeper understanding of reality. Skepticism and aporia. Euclid employed skeptical arguments to challenge conventional beliefs and expose contradictions. He used the method of aporia, or perplexity, to create doubt and force individuals to critically examine their beliefs and assumptions. Unity of virtue. Euclid advocated for the unity of virtue, suggesting that all virtues are interconnected and inseparable. According to him, virtue is a single entity, and individuals must strive to cultivate all virtues rather than focusing on individual virtues in isolation. Pursuit of wisdom. Euclid emphasized the pursuit of wisdom as the ultimate goal of philosophy. He believed that wisdom could be attained through the examination of one's own beliefs, critical thinking, and the search for truth. These are just a few notable students of Socrates, but there were likely many more individuals who were influenced by his teachings and engaged in philosophical discussions with him. The impact of Socrates' ideas and methods of questioning extended far beyond his immediate circle of students and had a profound influence on Western philosophy. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning about how the students of Socrates shaped how we see the world today. If you found this video informative or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.